I'm going to present a little bit about my latest module. I have worked on a compressor for a while. Last year, was it last year? I think the last time in Barcelona, I released the Magma, and the Magma was a diode compressor. And meanwhile, I've been working on it for full 2 years now, because compression is something special. It's magic. It's something hard to get your hands on the first time to understand it right. And after you understand what it does, it becomes just wonderful. So that's why I went into deeper and deeper and deeper, and in the end I have a compressor which is, I think, a very beautiful sounding. So I have a drum sound. I keep it 4 to the floor, very simple. That's the reason for that is that it's easier to explain with a simple drum. So I put off everything, and you will hear this is just a kick drum. And the compressor is off now, and I will put it on, and you will hear different with the sound already. So now it gets a lot more punchy, and when I open the attack, it lets through more transient, and it has a very short release now. So a longer release, shorter attack now. It gets more clicky kind of thing. So this is the kick drum, and here you see the VU meter is moving on the kick drum. And if I add something like a snare, and if I put off the compressor now, this is without compressor, and you'll hear it really comes straight in your face more. When I put more hi-hats, and you will hear they start dancing. Then I have a lot of controls. So first is a CV attenuator, which I don't use now, I will use later. Then I have a color, and the color is a tilt EQ on the input. So if I put it counterclockwise, it's get darker. And if I put it up, you will get more highs. So, and you will hear the highs really sprinkling, because if I put it off, this was without compressor. With the compressor, you will hear it's like you can move in between there. And then I have a gain, and the gain is adding to the input attenuator. So this is less gain. It's almost not audible now, but you will hear it later when I remove the compression and put more input gain and remove the compression. You will see it will start to really get crunchier. So then go back to the top. Here I have a clip, and the clip is a limiter on the output stage. So I should put a little bit off the recovery, so that's the output, and put off the limiter. And you will hear this is the limiter. The limiter is a very soft sounding limiter. It's not fuzzy, but it's really smooth. So this is the limiter. And I can make it fuzzier when I start overdriving it. So that's something I will do later as well. Then I have an attack and a release. And the attack is the transient of the sound, and the release is the transient is the start point of a drum. So the first clicky noise of the drum is the transient. So I can keep it more. So now it's a fuller sound when a longer attack, and a more clickier sound with short attack. Then I release. You will hear it when I. Now it's very good. You will really hear it pumping. And now it's smoother. And now it's a longer release. So let's search this. I think this is a nice release time for this. Maybe a little bit faster. And then it really starts to dance. I have a lot of compression now. I can remove the compression. So let's do less compression, and let's start more balanced maybe in the sound. So This is I think is a nice setting for this. Then I go up to the right side. There is a high pass filter and a low pass filter on the sidechain. The sidechain is internally now from the input to the envelope generator, and there you set the sidechain which is reacting on what part of the sound. Now you will hear I remove the highs, and now you can really hear dancing sound. So you can really. So let's. So this is still, if I put off the compressor, you will hear a big difference. This is without and with. So you will really hear the hi-hats coming straight, again more audible. And then I have an envelope attenuator. The envelope attenuator is the sidechain CV. If I remove it, I think this is a nice balance for the compressor as well. You can really smooth out the sound exactly how you want it. So there's a lot to control. Then the recovery is just the output volume, so I can make it less or a little bit more, but this is more to check if it's the same on the input and the output. This is a little bit the same. Then I have a switch feed forward and feed backward. Feed forward compression is the envelope generator from the sidechain directly from the input, and feed backward, then the envelope generator is taken from the output. So that means that on feed forward the compression is a lot more aggressive. So let's do it extreme on feed forward and feed backward. Feed backward is a lot more smoother, and it's I like feed forward for fast compression on the drums, and feed backward is really nice for overall compression on the end of the chain. Also for different slower instruments and more acoustic instruments, I like feed backward compression a lot because it's very musical and soft. Well, feed forward is a lot more pumping, so you hear like more aggressive. Then I have a CV input, and this is a little bit a weird thing as well for compressors. Let's see. I have an LFO, and let's put the output of the LFO in the CV input. And it adds dynamics to the sound. So it starts more dancing. So if I remove the envelope, you will hear the CV input, more CV. Now you hear it. I don't know if it's good to hear online, but here on the speakers you will hear clearly. And I will also add an oscillator, and if I add an oscillator, you will hear it even more because it's a long sound. So now I put off the drums, and this is the CV input of the compressor. So this is without the CV, and let's do a sine wave, and then I can add the drums. And of course, when I have a synced LFO, I can sync this to the clock, and let's see what happens when I do that. So this is without the internal sidechain. So this is not sidechain. This is pure the CV input ducking the sound. Now I add the sidechain, and So you really hear it's like a dancing. Let's do less CV and more internal envelope. Okay, this is how I use the CV input. The CV input can be used also to link two of these compressors together. When you use two compressors next to each other, you can use the envelope CV output into the CV input of the next compressor and vice versa. So also the next compressor will have the envelope output. You can feed it back into the first compressor in the CV input, and then you have a pure stereo link of those. Now I also have a sidechain input, an external sidechain. Let's see what it does. Now I don't put anything in there. Let's do the take out the snare. And now I use this to sidechain. Very short release, very short attack, fast attack and a short release. And you can get these kind of things. Sorry. So I will remove this oscillator. And I still use the sidechain. But the sidechaining is best when you use an oscillator or you use a very full sound. So I will remove the external sidechain and use the internal sidechain again. And let's see. Another nice thing about this compressor is that you can overdrive it. So I will take a long kick drum. So it's almost not audible, but if I drive it, it's really smashing the sound. And now I have to be careful if I remove the limiter, so I will do. And now you hear the limiter will add just a little bit smoother the sound, and it's really smashing into your face. Like. You can really color the sound with this compressor. And you can almost play it like an instrument. It's a nice compressor to shape your sound, and I think this is what I can say about it. Maybe there are questions, I don't know. No questions? Okay, perfect. I think that's it. Maybe. Oh, thank you. So, questions from here? Will it be stereo? Very good question. Of course, if you have two and you link them together, but I said that already. But no, I have worked on this module for 2 years, not purely on this module, but when I started making a compressor, that's 2 years ago, and I think now it's time to use what I've learned of this process to create a new module pure about the coloration of the sound as a next project. So with the limiter, with the crunchy sound, with the tilt EQ, with all these things, and find all sweet spots in there. And then maybe meanwhile I should work on a stereo version because people are asking for it. Then there's another thing. I made the Magma. The Magma was the first diode compressor I made. And I called the new one, I called Obsidian, because Obsidian is a black stone from Magma. But there is already an Obsidian compressor I found out last week. So, and that's in a 500 series, and I don't want to have I'm not really afraid of difficulties with it, but because it's a complete different compressor. But to make it clear that this is not the same, I think I'm going to rename it before I'm going to full production. I started slowly production because the first 10 will be delivered next month. But these should have already the new name, and I am not completely sure about having a new name because I was quite happy that Obsidian is a logical step after Magma. I have to change that. I don't know exactly, but I really feel that I have to change it. So let's see what comes out. Then, yeah, the compressor is diode bridge based, but diode bridge compressors are well known because of the Neve, and I started making this compressor without any schematics of other compressors next to it. So I really started from scratch, and I designed it purely on what I know and what I thought would work, and develop that further and further. And that means that this is a complete different schematic than any other compressor in the world. It's diode based, but it's absolutely not comparable to the Neve, because the Neve is has the diodes on the input directly after a transformer, and this is two parallel positive lines with diodes to the ground. And in my compressor, I have an op-amp, and the op-amp has a feedback loop, and I use a diode bridge in the feedback loop with a positive and negative CV generated from the envelope generator. And so it's completely different. I call it a diode compressor. But you cannot compare it with any other diode compressor, and it has a very unique own sound. And yeah, I don't know what I can further talk about it. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, John from Jinko. We're going to wait for the next one, which is Jack Audio. We'll be back in 10 minutes or so. Thank you, guys. Remember, prepare your questions on the chat and we will read them to the manufacturer. See you.